All right, guys, so let's go ahead and start on this next problem here. We've got all the data that we need to. That's something that if you don't have yet, this first beginning portion that you want to watch the last video in order to know where to get all that info. So let's go ahead and start by continuing on the next portion, which is a linear equation that represents the total investment that you've made into the property. So how much money have you really put into the property along the way? And so it says the rule is total invested in property to date equals the monthly cost multiplied by the number of months that we paid in full plus the down payment. And so with that said, we're going to go ahead and use what we've already found to substitute into this rule and write an equation that's in a linear form. And that linear form goes back to this y equals mx plus b. So let's check it out. Total investment to date, or total invested in the property to date. Well, this is going to be one of our unknowns, and we're going to call it y. It's going to be either a number that is going to be in the scenario where they give us how much was invested and we have to think about, well, how long did it take to make that commitment, that investment? Or they might actually end up giving us the amount of time and want to know this actual variable, this amount of how much was invested. There are two different ways that we can approach this equation. All right, but let's keep writing it. So we don't know how much has been invested along the way into the property. So we use the variable y equals the monthly cost. Well, we do know the monthly cost here. So we can go ahead and copy that information and bring it down. Then we can go ahead and say that the number of months paid in full, well, once again, in the scenario, it will either ask us for this or it will give us this information. And so we're going to use the variable x as the unknown. And then plus the down payment. Well, we know that, $32,900. So I can go ahead and just substitute that as well. Once I have that, I literally have just wrote the equation where we have two unknowns. It's a linear equation, and we can copy that information and go ahead and see how we apply it. So let's go to the next question. And sorry, my numbers might be off with your numbers, but the questions are the same. So don't worry about the numbers being off. All right, so the question now says, total invested after 5 years, which is asking you how much money has been invested in the property after 5 years. And the reason why it's very important for you to convert to months is because the units for X is number of months. And that goes back to the top. If we see, it says number of months paid in full. So we can't use a year value. We have to convert that year into months. So 5 years is the same as 12 times 5. 12 months per year times 5 years is 60 months. So we're going to take this equation and we're going to use what they gave us and actually substitute it in. So here, the y represents the amount of money invested. The x represents the number of months that we have made that full monthly payment. So we're going to change this x variable to 60 months. We're going to take that. All we got to do is plug it in to a calculator and let it give us the answer, which is $102,320. So what that means now is we've invested, after 5 years, we've invested a little bit over $100,000. Somehow my copy didn't work. So let's go ahead back. So once again here, we're going to go ahead and press paste, and now we know how much we've made that investment for. So with that said, I want to make sure you put commas, and that's what we got here. So we've invested a little bit over $100,000. I'm going to skip the second one because you can do that one on your own using the same strategy. The x variable represents the number of months, so how many months are in 10 years, and then plug that information or substitute that information into your linear equation. So let's jump on over actually to letter C here. We're going to now calculate how much we've invested at the end of the mortgage. We know it's a 30-year loan. It's a 30-year mortgage. So what is the amount we've invested all through those years and now have invested completely at that end point? And once again, the x variable is the number of months that we've made the investment. The y variable is the amount of money we've invested. So we now are given the information that there's 360 months in 30 years, 30 times 12. And that's all we got to do is literally plug that information into our calculator yet again and let it do the work for us. So now we're seeing we've paid almost $500,000 by the end of our actual 30-year loan. And so we can substitute that in for our y variable, and there we go. We've got that information as to how much. All right, the last part of this video is how much more did we pay? So take that number you just found and subtract the amount of money that the property actually cost, which is back to the purchase price. Then we're going to go ahead and say